What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MyMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today we're going to talk about Sugar Cane. Whew. This was submitted for my consideration. Did not have audio description. And this is the second documentary of the year where I've been listening to the material, like I'm aware of what the material is in a documentary, but also at the same time, like as a blind film critic, I have to acknowledge the lack of audio description really, I would say, makes the film unwatchable, but that word, unwatchable, is not the word that I want necessarily from this movie. So, nor did I necessarily want to throw it No Other Land, because if you're sighted, I really think these are important movies, and I know sighted people do watch this channel. This is a hell of a documentary in terms of what it discusses, what it talks about. I wonder, in a year of hell of a documentaries, there's something about like when the world is on fire, you tend to get more and more of these types of documentaries. And there are a lot of documentaries this year that have a lot of weight behind them. I don't know what the Oscar branch is going to do. It's like having 20 days in Mariupol. It's like they could have the most depressing lineup of movies ever, but they're all important. They're all trying to say something, and they're all trying to remind history to not repeat itself. And Sugar Cane takes the perspective, sort of investigating and going after. We used to have white people. We were fucking terrible. Like just like I don't know. I know that there's this resistance to like, it's not white guilt. Like I don't feel guilty for the shit that people came before us, but damn, the shit that people came before us, like the bare minimum we can do is fucking acknowledge it and try to like move and be like, how do we? I don't know. How do we fix this? Can we move past this? What can we do? But this deals with the schools we used to build where we would take uh, Native American children and indoctrinate them into the Catholic Church through just basically forcibly. Um, they didn't really have a choice. They kept trying to escape and run away. You've seen this done in narrative work before. Even Taylor Sheridan's tackled this in 1923. He has one of his characters, if that show ever finishes, uh, if we ever get the second season that we're supposed to be getting of that show, there was a character on the show who had escaped from one of these types of places. So this is sort of like the documentary companion to Nickel Boys in some ways, even though Nickel Boys is not about Native Americans. It also is about schools that never should have existed. These places where we took people and people just kind of like closed their eyes, didn't look, walked away. They were like, you know what? Fuck it. We'll just, it's very dehumanizing to think about the experiences that these people went through, what we did to get to this point, and some of the things, these stories. I don't even want to say them. Like, I want you to experience them. There's some moments where my jaw dropped. I was just like, what the fuck did he just say? Like, when you're listening to some of the stories of things that happened in these facilities and they're talking to the elders in these Native American tribes, I think, it's really hard to really sit on some of this stuff and to give it any sort of credence in the fact that, they have a moment here, I think, where the Pope comes over. It's hard because there's no audio description. But, he was speaking Latin, so I don't know if it's, and it was clearly some high-ranking official. It could have been a cardinal, but I think it was a Pope. And came over and spoke, and, they were asking the questions like, did he acknowledge? Did he do anything? Is he opening up? There are all these dead bodies, and they're trying to like identify them, and they found, sort of like a mass grave, like 220 something bodies or something, and lots of suicides that would happen at the place because people, they couldn't escape, and they couldn't also be there. It happened afterwards to people who couldn't live with the guilt, and people who struggle with alcoholism. This guy's talking with his father, and he's like, I there's a lot of stuff I could never deal with. He's like, I couldn't be there for you as a father. I couldn't, like, I couldn't get over this, this whole thing, the weight of this. And it's like, this is a lot of weight. And you hear, especially when you hear the elders talk about it, you can hear it's like, it's almost like they don't have the energy anymore to exist. And then just to like have the words to say and to go through their experiences is just, it's like soul crushing experience. And, but there are long periods where nobody's talking. It's not a talking head documentary. There are a lot of times where he's capturing on camera stuff, whether it's archival footage, whether we're just staring out at space. I don't know what, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I need audio description because I need to be able to connect the dots. It's like there are moments, there are clips, there are things that people are saying here, and the weight is so heavy where it's like, fuck, I feel like this would be a top 5 documentary for me if I just had the accessibility to be able to connect the dots. But there are some other documentaries that are also very weighty and have accessibility. So this is one where I hope everybody sees it when it comes out, and I give it the, all the push in the world. I actually had Lakota Nation versus the United States as my favorite documentary, I believe, from last year. I think it was last year because I think last year was the year I didn't see 20 Days of Mariupol until after I put on my list, because I didn't see that until late, like almost Oscars, until I found it with audio description. So, I think that was last year. So, that had a lot of weight behind it. Sugarcane has even more weight if it's even fucking possible. So, we should be constantly apologizing to the indigenous people of America, instead of trying to, like, I don't know, take their tribal land away or build pipelines through it or whatever the fuck we're trying to do. Just be like, haven't we done enough? Like, haven't we done enough shit? The only thing that ever gave me any pause in this movie was, and this is more like just, I don't know, throwing it back to the indigenous people. Be nice to yourselves. Is like some of these, not quite as old. They're like old people who obviously were there, like as kids. And then there's like the second generation. There are some people who were born from people who have been in, and they are what they are is they're products of rape. They're mixed. They're half indigenous, half white. And the stories of them trying to connect with their roots and being ridiculed by indigenous tribes, that also made me uncomfortable from the other aspect of it. It's like, those people did not ask for what they were, and they're here, and at least the other thing didn't happen to them that is brought up in this movie. So I kind of wish in retrospect that people had just been more less shittier to them in their existence, instead of just constantly reminding them that they were. But I think that happens a lot in mixed race communities. It's like, well, you don't fit in anywhere. Fuck you. And it's just to hear that, it's like I'm sympathizing like 100% with the horrible shit that we did to the indigenous tribes, and then to hear them also turn around and have this experience negatively backwards was just sort of like, it was very sort of, I don't know, like a, like, what the fuck moment. It's like, wait a minute, what? I feel like we're headed in one direction, and then you're like, oh yeah, and by the way, these people, they didn't have great lives when they went onto tribal lands later on as kids. These products of rape, babies and stuff when they grew up, and trying to maintain their whatever side. It doesn't matter. Like, it didn't seem to matter whether or not the parent, whether or not the mother kept the kid or not. Like, nobody looked at it a different way. It just seemed like that was their experience, was not a great one. So I just wish we also could be a little bit better to each other in that nature as well. So aside from the fucking school, it's like these people also experience like a different level of generational mistreatment as like a byproduct of shitty things that happened inside this school, as a result of the Catholic Church not giving a fuck, and religion just being really just like a guise to do terrible shit to people and dehumanize them in a way that they're basically just there for your pleasure and your purpose, and not for anything that you would actually use them, that you say that you're there for. Definitely, you're not bringing them religion. Like nothing about that said. Um, uh, and they do point out the fact that the idiocy of using the term savage, and it's like they're using the term savage for certain people, but really, who in there is a savage? Well, definitely the Catholic people running those schools. This, especially the school that we're sort of centrally focused on, but just the concept of these schools in general. Um, why we felt like we needed to force them. There's a difference between having a school and being like, you can come to this, and then being like, no, you will come to this. And it's not even like run by the state. It's run by the Catholic Church. Anyway, so I wish Sugarcane all the best in the world as a documentary. And I'm not going to grade it because it technically is unwatchable, but my grade for this, if it did have audio description, I know where it would be, and it would be really high. But it's really hard to say A to a documentary that half of it, I can't, there's no dialogue, and I can't follow it and understand, and I don't have any context of what it is he's trying to show us here in this documentary. So, but would I be mad if it's got a documentary feature nomination? Absolutely not. I feel like it deserves it. I feel like somebody went out and they put camera, much like No Other Land. They took a camera and they're showing us something that we need to be looking at, and it's absolutely worth your time. So check it out. We need to watch hard things every once in a while. We need to remember that the world is not cotton candy and fluffy puppy dogs. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.